Hello, everyone, and welcome to Vex Warfield. I am Vex, your host, and tonight we're going to do a little history. Maybe we're going to go into some Missouri history, and I'm going to have a guest up. He's been on a couple times before, and he just so happens been doing a lot of digging into history, more specifically Missouri history. That well, quite frankly, I'm lacking on. So I'm gonna really like picking his brain on this aspect, and I hope that you guys will enjoy this too, because there's a lot to be said for knowing the history of your state, even your counties. Well, I would guess that would go right along with it, but Yuri can tell you a lot, and I'm hoping that my internet will hold up because it's not showing that I have a good signal. So hopefully I'm not too choppy and you guys can hear me clear enough. Let's see. I need to send out this. All right. There that is. But like I said, a little bit of history. Some things you might actually find surprising. We're going to be mainly talking about Missouri history, but history in general is not what we thought it was. I mean, a lot of people nowadays are starting to realize that the stories we've been told growing up, well, well, it's not really been the truth. It's all spin. And now, because we don't know our history, our present and future are at stake. So I think this applies to the Friday Night Rights kind of format. So, oh yeah, I gotta send this out too. But knowing our history will, well, we all know the saying, you're doomed to repeat it. Character matters. Good to see ya. And knowing the history of the area around you, like I said, it's something that I'm lacking myself. So this is going to be really informative for me tonight, hopefully as well as all of you. But we are going to dive into things. God's not good to see you. We're going to dive into a few things that people really general just know because we're not taught it. And this goes right along with a lot of other things. You know, I love how I love saying, you know, it's connected. Well, it truly is. Now, in the beginning of, we'll just say oh, I'm blanking on the date. Nuts. Well, back when we submitted our first Constitution to the Union, it wasn't accepted. Now, I found that extremely strange. Why wouldn't they accept our Constitution for entrance into the Union? Well, as it turns out, it wasn't. It was too we the people biased. Now, I can't go into too much detail. I just know that is kind of the take I've gotten from. And they wouldn't accept it until we altered it and sent it back years. So you could pretty much say that we've been dealing with this since the beginning. All right. Here we go. Common Sense joining us now. And you're muted in case you didn't. There you go. Welcome.
Hey, what's going on?
Well, I was just telling everybody that we're going to do a little digging into Missouri's past, a little history. Maybe enlighten some people on some things that they didn't know about, maybe their own history in their own state. Um, I was just telling them I couldn't remember the year of our first Constitution. I blanked.
Hmm. That in itself is a rabbit hole. When was it? Hmm. Was it one of the first 3 tries?
Well, there's a point right there. What do you mean by that? Go ahead and expand upon it.
Yeah, so the folks in the Missouri Territory come together, 1817, 1818, 1819, and 1820, actually. Putting together constitutions and trying to get them approved, if you will. But only one was accepted.
And how much lesser was that one that was accepted?
And how much what?
Lesser, as in, I guess take a step back to our first one. Was it? Why wasn't it accepted? Do we have anything on that?
There's a few reasons that are given. And they'll have some value as far as the first and second attempt. The third stuck a little bit more, but the first two, the argument is the metes and bounds of the state weren't clearly defined, which is a valid reason. I've read them and I disagree, but that's a whole nother story.
Ah. Well,
some basis to the arguments, but common sense would say otherwise.
so
No, I'm not
mainly
talking
it was
in third person.
yeah, yeah, that. But so mainly it was because we didn't have our borders clearly defined.
That is what you will find stated as the reason. Somebody else would say something different, or a different federal body would say something along those lines.
Like
I
de
think there
facto.
was yeah. I think they more or less didn't want. They had other motives for the land.
Well, we did find out that they didn't want to let us in until they had a counterbalance to, because Missouri was considered a slave state.
Yeah.
That would be what story to it.
Yeah, there's one aspect, and that is where they always point you when you're looking at something like the Missouri Compromise. But I think it even proves true today that race is used as a method of getting people to look at something else. It's kind of take something people are very passionate about, and yes, slavery is wrong, obviously. But even still today, they turn it into skin color and a reason to argue and fight.
They mean of slavery. I mean, it's color more. Probably put in sweatpants.
You broke up a bit
Just,
there.
Yeah, the face diaper.
I couldn't make out what you're saying, bro.
Breaking up badly.
Yeah, a little bit.
Alright, I'm gonna have to shut off a few things. Hopefully that'll help.
Yeah, a little bit.
closed down everything but basically StreamYard and the
That's a lot better.
YouTube playing in the background. Okay. We'll see how that does.
Yeah, it's coming in much
All right.
much better.
Excellent. All right. So, what have you found out so far about those early days?
So far, in those beginning years in the struggle for statehood, one of the things that I can prove is it was definitely a struggle. And the story is extremely unclear for many reasons. And
Well, we had a lot of records, didn't we? Much
had a
like
lot
many
of
other
what?
states. Records destroyed.
Oh yeah. I mean, going back to even the origins, where the land came from, how it came into play as being able to organize itself and become part of the Union, there's a mystery all in its own, because Missouri was a piece of the Louisiana Purchase, and that in itself, what happened? How did the Louisiana Territory come into play? How was it acquired? Was it acquired lawfully? Was it acquired according to the Constitution? Or did its fruition, was it that a direct result of a president in Congress directly violating the Constitution? And go ahead.
I was just gonna say that most likely. I mean, all right. What was the year where we walked out of Congress?
1861.
1861. Okay. Back then, after that happened, it basically left everything up in the air. So we were basically invaded. Oh well, we were invaded before then. Actually, I'm going on a separate jam. Let me bring it back to the original. Well, the people who were steering us, we'll just put it that way. People that were steering us, were they for personal gain, or was it as simple as future manipulation? I'm looking for a little speculation here.
Well, I'm going to call it an accident that resulted in the Louisiana Purchase, and as we know it, not so much personal gain. I think people were just covering their backside because they realized they messed up.
Well, that
Big
would
time.
be personal gain, though, don't you think?
Yeah, it's I guess it would be speculative to say they had the motive of personal gain. But either way, it was lawless, I would say.
So, what would be the proper way for them to make something like this happen compared to what they actually did? That's kind of a big question, but give it a shot.
Yeah, it was kind of a big question. Can you repeat
it? What would have been a better way than how it happened? Would it be, essentially the assembly structure.
What would have been a better way for it to happen?
Well, we all know that it happened, and it's all screwed up and jumbled up and messed up. I use three different ways to say the same thing. Okay, but obviously was a better way to do it and a more legit way to do it. That legit way, I'm guessing, would have been more or less along the lines of keeping it the way it was before they walked out of Congress. Now, purposely did do that, correct?
Sorry, I heard walk out of Congress and
Yeah, crap.
your audio went a little haywire.
It's messing up again.
It just like keywords in the sentence.
Figures. Um, I'll go ahead and stop that. Hope that'll help. All right. Oh, it did give me an extra bar. Oh, there it went away. Crap. All right, now I got to remember what my question was. As far as the way it was done, it was purposely moved away from, well, I guess the constitutional way. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is something interesting as well. So the Constitution says Congress has, well, it says that Congress may admit another state into the Union. And that's all it
Okay.
says.
That's it? That's the guideline? That's the Constitution?
Yeah. You get the Northwest, Ordinance, which kind of laid down a process.
We'll go ahead and expand upon that a little bit more for people who don't know about it.
Yeah, so the Northwest Ordinance was the first real expansion of the Union's lands. And a few states popped out of that. Ohio, Michigan. There's another one I'm blanking on. But that process was sort of the guideline, if you will, on how states join or could join the Union. And once Missouri kind of popped into the picture with some other states and their creation, that part of the Constitution that says they may admit another state in the Union got heavily scrutinized because that's all it says. And if they may admit another state, that means that they can also say they may not.
Well, yeah, that's kind of logical. So,
but
well, I feel you're putting emphasis on it. Go ahead.
Yeah, so if Congress has the power to choose whether they do or do not admit a state, then who has the authority to say why they may not or may choose to not?
So, who does have the authority?
Well, the authority is there. Congress has that authority to admit another state. But what has to be the basis for them to not allow another state? That's where you get the founding documents into play, one would assume. But in the case of Missouri, you have Congress trying to impose exclusionary clauses, which is something that they cannot do. Or
but
can
who
they?
can?
Because
Yeah, that's what I
see where I'm going?
Yeah, go ahead.
So anything that's not explicitly stated, any of the enumerated powers given to the federal government in the Constitution, um, any power that's not explicitly stated for them to have, that power is assumed by the people. So the people have the right to make their own constitution and send it off to say, well, will you have us or not? You know?
Right.
And you get the aspect of de jure and de facto, what is by right, and what is by just because it exists, you know?
Because you said that.
Yes. Well, it would seem that the people of Missouri did it right at some point in time, but it was never approved until the federal government got their hands all over it, started adding to it. Which would make
I'm
it not
getting.
by the people.
I'm bringing up a map to show. Go ahead.
Yeah. So if the federal government's writing a constitution for the state, then it's no longer by the people. It's by the federal government.
It's kind of small. Yeah, and the difference in that is it was done incorrectly. Because if it's not done by the people, then it's default. No, that was the wrong word. It's legitimate. So does that mean that? Oh, there's a question in the chat for you. Your avatar, who is that?
That would be to some, the infamous Jesse James.
Ah, I thought it was. Wasn't sure. I was going to say a kid for some reason.
Some call him an outlaw. I think he's more of a Robin Hood, but
yeah.
Either way.
Well, let's see. The Louisiana Purchase itself, it was put into place. Now, when they did that, what did they do wrong?
Yeah, where did Jefferson go wrong? Oh boy.
He
did
just
some
keep
pretty-
it confined.
He did a really great job with that Constitution, but man, he contradicted himself a whole lot after that. So in the Constitution, or I'm sorry, in some of them documents, a Declaration of Independence that he wrote, but in the Constitution, where does it say that the federal government can acquire new lands or territories?
That's a good question.
It doesn't. Yeah.
Now, I mean, it's illuminated by, jumping up to present day, how much of our land has been bought up by other countries. Just wanted to throw that in as a little side note. And it's all illegitimate.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, so getting back to that, it doesn't say that they can go around purchasing or acquiring more land. Well, there was a crisis that arose in the late 1700s, like 1799, 1800, and Spain sold the Louisiana territory Napoleon.
Yeah, we got it from the French.
Mhm. And Jefferson caught wind of this and was extremely nervous. And what Napoleon was trying to do was establish French colonies on the west side of the Mississippi.
Yeah.
And Jefferson's fear was that if France got into a war with Great Britain, which they did, that Great Britain would invade from the north in Canada and come down the Mississippi, or invade from if they got into an issue or conflict with Spain, which seemed likely at the time, would Spain invade from the Gulf of Mexico up the Mississippi and invade the Midland or the middle of the country from there.
Right.
So
Well, it's a
the
good
area
tactic.
it is, and it's an interesting geographical security risk, if you will,
Yeah.
for the other states. So Jefferson put a great emphasis on the area that is now St. Louis, because his thing was when he sent two people over to France to negotiate a deal with Napoleon to purchase some territory or land. Um, Jefferson sent them with about $8 or $9 million, and that's all they had. And Jefferson said, "Whatever you do, get this Missouri area because we want to put a military fort right in the middle."
Well, sure.
Yeah. So was it sound reasoning, sound logic? Yes. Was it a great uh, risk for the rest of the states? Yes. Then there lies the ethical question of violating the Constitution.
Okay. So how was it violated?
Again,
Exactly.
they don't have the authority to purchase new lands.
And we go right back to that. Now, eh, now how can okay, I'm confusing myself, but how is we'll just how is the union supposed to grow if
Yeah,
yeah, you understand
yeah,
where I'm going or
sure.
go ahead.
Yeah, the union is supposed to grow by the idea of self-governing growing.
Hmm.
If the world is watching us and how we self-govern, the idea will grow.
And
The
at the
idea
time,
grows. Yeah, you get
and at
more
the
states.
a real
Yeah, go ahead.
say this real quick. And at the time, that was one of the things you see on the screen, the Louisiana Purchase and all the territory and all the Union, all that was looked at by the rest of the world as a crazy experiment. Everybody was literally paying attention to what was going on here. So go ahead, please.
Yeah. Um, what is it? Yeah. So the if the people inhabiting the lands there, west of the Mississippi, come together, organize themselves so they can become self-governing, then they can ask to become part of the Union of States. And that's how it grows.
And in doing that, say like Well, the way Missouri was divided up, and when its territory was finally put into place, the borders, um, then they were accepted into the Union. But you've done more.
No.
Okay, correct me, please.
Yeah, so they um, got the kinks, if you will, worked out in the first draft or two. Um, and Missouri said, all right, we want to become a state now. Then came the Great Compromise, or the Missouri Compromise. And this started a whole nother argument that Congress wanted to maintain the balance between free and slave states. And in this compromise, they said, all right, well, we'll allow Missouri to join the Union, but we're going to take Massachusetts.
Maine.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Maine.
Did I jump
Yeah,
ahead? Or, oh,
no, no. They took Maine. They took a chunk out of Maine and created Massachusetts.
hmm.
Or nope, other way around. Massachusetts.
Took a chunk out of Massachusetts to make Maine.
Yeah. Well, Maine became a state, and Missouri was still waiting. In the meantime, 3 other states were admitted into the Union.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So they didn't want Missouri at all, or at least it seemed like
Or
that.
they just were trying to do something else.
So what was it? What were they trying to do?
Well, not all that long ago, I just realized uh, that in that time period of a few years, the militia, the territorial rangers of Missouri, and the uh, army for the United States were all heavily involved in creating nearly 30 treaties with the indigenous tribes and pushing them out of the territory that was to
Hmm.
become Missouri. And it
All right.
makes me question the motives.
Well, yeah. I mean, we have to question the motives of basically everything that was going on since they walked out. I mean, that was the, well, descent or ascent, depending on how you're viewing it. So whenever, whenever, okay, the 3 states that were brought in ahead of us, they can. Do you know anything about how much trouble they had with it? Was it pretty much the same type of thing, or was it something different?
They nearly had no trouble at all, it would seem. You had Arkansas join,
Mm-hmm.
Alabama, I believe, and Maine. So 2 slave states and 2 free states. So again, the whole wanting to balance the power of free and slave states kind of makes you wonder if that was really the problem. And the
Hmm.
people that lived on Missouri, for the most part, didn't have any slaves. But being that they were positioned on multiple key waterways,
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the trails west started there. They wanted to be engaged in all kinds of commerce, which unfortunately at the time involved slavery. So they just wanted to have a decent economy. Now, I'm not justifying slavery. Please don't take it that way. But in that time period, that's what they saw it as, an opportunity. And can you really blame them for wanting to take advantage of all the commerce that was available at that time?
Well, yeah, I mean, St. Louis itself, gateway to the West. I mean, that there alone is a hub, and it was almost like it was positioned to be a hub.
Hmm. Well, by how it came about um, was because it was a central point on that river. It was of great military value.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, I think I've seen pictures where there was like, um, what was it? I might be jumping to a different part in time as far as the history of Saint or yeah Saint. Yeah, that's a different time. Sorry, I interrupted for no reason. Aoki.
It's all good. But there
Well,
there are about two really key big things, that make you question the legitimacy of the statehood.
and
Oh, it's
those
stuck
are.
apparently. Yeah. One, you have, how was the land acquired?
Hmm.
Was it lawful or not? It would seem not. Um, and then was the creation of that state and its the legitimizing of its government, did that hold true to American principles? Eh, not really. Yes and no.
Tell me a story.
Well, that's what I was saying. The Louisiana Purchase. No, even Jefferson admitted himself um, that he had stretched the Constitution until it had torn. Um, the After Missouri statehood was recognized, it was questioned for the next 30 years. And the Missouri Compromise, which allowed Missouri, some would say statehood. I found evidence otherwise. Some would say admittance into the Union, um, was overturned in the Dred Scott decision in 1850. 11 years later, the Civil War.
Which, by the way, was essentially backed by the crown, who basically found another way to, stick their hands into our soil, so to speak. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. So get in, get into that. The Missouri Compromise was overturned. Then you have the Civil War, I don't think the question of, you know, admittance into the Union was ever actually addressed during that time period. I think a war broke out to stop that conversation from happening.
So, basically, diversion. Well, it fits within the patterns they use against us. Start a war, distract everybody from what's going on.
Yeah, it lines up with their playbook for sure.
Sure.
But all the documents that would seem to support a lot of well, would be answers to a lot of questions would be in the Capitol building, in the records. Well, we are on our 4th Capitol building. The first one caught fire. The second one was struck by lightning and caught fire. The very first one actually was in St. Charles, right on the river, and that one was abandoned. It was for temporary use, if you will, which is odd. But
yeah,
all the records were stored in the first or second Capitol building that caught fire, and the other records that were collected and to replace those stored in the next Capitol building, struck by lightning, caught on fire. We're on the 4th one. No fires yet. Hopefully it stays that way.
it reminds me of a part in a Monty Python movie. This dude built his castle in the swamp. It basically fell into the swamp and somehow caught on fire. And then he built it again, and then it fell into the swamp, caught on fire, and like somebody like that. It basically just kept escalating. Sorry, I'm not doing it justice.
It's good.
Oh, got a.
Not sure what else could we discuss, or maybe I can answer. Maybe.
Yeah. Hold on, I'm getting rid of the bot. So if you want to continue speaking, please be my guest.
Yeah. One other interesting bit: the Louisiana Purchase. Go around looking for documents about the Louisiana Purchase. They don't exist because it's not what it was actually called. It was actually referred to the Treaty of Cession of 1803.
Treaty
Of Cession, yeah. Now you go looking around for that 30-page document in its original copy. Well, only 3 of the 30 pages are legible. They were laminated when lamination technology first came out. Now, the material that they used is so, what's the word? Deteriorated, if you will, or oxidized. That it's turned yellow and you can't read the words that are written.
Man, I had to block that bot on both YouTube and StreamYard.
Dang Russians.
Yeah. But so I mean, it's kind of another pattern there. As far as historical things, just use that as the broadest possible term. Historical things have often been lost to history by um, mysterious fires and lightning strikes,
Mhm.
and
Multiple mysterious fires.
yeah, multiples. Yes, I mean this is something that quite frankly can bring it up to relatively present day. I mean, think about Building 7 that collapsed for no reason except for the demolition crew standing outside waiting for it to do so. Uh, and that housed a lot of information. We won't have to go into that. Now, this is some bring it up as it's more of a, like I said, present day we all have in our memory. This is stuff that's been happening since our conception here on the land. So, keep aware of those patterns. Go ahead.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I'm
We were
thinking where I left
talking
off.
about we were talking about the how the capitals and stuff like that were or information, original things like Missouri's original flag is lost to history, stuff like that.
The flag.
Am I? What did I say the wrong thing?
No, no. I'm just the whole mystery of the flag.
It was made, lost, remade, burned.
Yeah. Accidentally
I don't.
misplaced.
Yeah, accidentally. But yeah, a lot of this stuff is following this pattern of getting rid of the evidence. I mean, a good example of that would be, go down to Arkansas during the Clinton reign down there. There ain't no body count for nothing.
Yeah. Another interesting bit of history is Missouri went a year without a capital. Where did it go?
Where did it go?
What's that?
Yeah, I said, where did it go?
Yeah, Mart, Texas.
Did you hear that, everyone? Our capital, Missouri capital, went to Texas. Does that make us Texans?
I don't know, but it brings that phrase "God bless Texas" a whole new meaning.
Yeah, so we were down there for how long? A year?
Well, the capital was there for technically until Texas gate or surrendered.
Hmm.
Uh, Once it surrendered, the capital, Missouri's Capitol building in Texas, was taken over by the Freedmen Bureau.
And are?
What's was that?
And they are?
Uh, One of those first federal agencies.
And what would it do?
Still unwinding that mystery, but
Hmm.
they got their hands all over eventually.
Yeah, keep in mind that this all was being well, I was thinking about the dates to make sure it was right. 1871 was okay, never mind. Different date. See, this is why I need the history primer. Get all the dates
Mm-hmm.
mixed up. All right, so we're at the part where you were talking about stuff being burned, struck by lightning.
Yeah, that's where a lot of the mystery kind of dissolves into history it turns into modern day. What we see now, what we have now, accept now. Um, and it pretty much stays that way. Um, most of the curiosities happen before that. One of the other just random but still interesting things is, how do you spell Missouri? And who chose to spell it that way?
All
And
right.
its current spelling, I found out actually looking around in the Library of Congress a few nights ago, that the first time it was ever seen spelled in the way it is today was in a letter from the Queen in France. Very, very old letter. But that was the first time it was ever spelled that way.
Well, how was it spelled before that?
Well, before that, it was only a word known by the Indians. Um,
Hmm.
but the people who lived there said all kinds of things, spelled it all kinds of ways. Missouri, Missouri, Missouri. Um,
So was it supposed
five
to
or so
be
different
a?
spellings.
Was it originally an Indian, Native American name, or was it a French name?
Uh, the French uh, pronounced it a much different way than the Native Americans. Um,
New Zealand.
yeah, not like that. um, but from what I can find, it would seem uh, Missouri was an Indian word that roughly translated into uh, the Big Muddy,
Yeah, because of
which,
those great riverways.
yeah, and a lot of the floodplains and
Yep.
things like that. But today, I think it still fits because the history is so muddy. It's clear as mud.
Missouri. But all right, so at this time, um, there's so much confusion. The war kicks off, the Civil War, and everything's up in arms, and Missouri's forgot about because ooh, everybody look at the war. So what happens next?
Hmm. Sorry, I was looking at the chat. What'd you say?
So everybody's distracted with the war, and Missouri's forgotten, and basically turned into a battlefield in different spots, of course. But what happens after that?
Yeah, so um, after the Civil War, you get folks who come home, settle down, and then get uprooted from their homes and their land from the expansion of railroad or from military courts uh, hearing cases to try and settle monetary disputes over war bonds and things like that. Um, and a lot of people becoming very poor, homeless, um, and having to leave. And you, in exchange, get folks like Jesse James.
Yep.
who got uprooted by railroad and tried their best to rob banks that were funding the railroad, um, destroy train tracks, anything to get them out or to move their course so they could have their homes back.
See, he was labeled as outlaw, but yeah, my thinking of him was the opposite. It was the original way of the people. He was being railroaded, literally, and he fought back. And that is what we were based on. That the big guy can't just run over. I won't let him. So
Mm-hmm.
the road. Damn, another bot. So the railroad is one of those things where, well, everybody knows pretty much the overall area. They basically cross the United States in order to basically make a nice little profit and set themselves up to nudge our fledgling government into certain. Oh, thank you, Veritas. But nudge us in a certain direction. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, if you want to continue, I got myself distracted.
Yeah, there's a reason. There's some older local colleges that have a mule or a donkey. You just think of an older way of what is a donkey, but
Ass.
yeah, and they're stubborn as can be. Yeah, I wonder where that came about.
Well, like I said, that's the people of the United States or the colonies.
Hmm. Stubborn mules.
Well, a lot of people came over here to get exactly away from that type of railroading, and then here it comes right back, and it's under the guise of progress. Well, and today, have you heard about progress and how good it'll be for you? Oh, actually, I was about ready to start going into my other topic that I was going to go into tonight. It's more Monday. Yeah, this is patterns. You can see these patterns over and over throughout history, and everything that common sense is talking about fits within these patterns that we see today. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this kind of history, because he's been doing a lot of digging into history itself, not to mention Missouri history alone. So I thought it'd be a perfect way to connect a lot of things from history to present day. And yeah, that's kind of my um, where I'm coming from tonight. So
Mhm.
after the Civil War, and the railroads are going up, progress, smokeless powder is going the way of the dinosaurs. Um, and um, these railroads and banking companies are essentially suckering everybody into their way of doing things. And even back then, got away from our self-governing, what was supposed to be our self-governing roots. This plan has been in place ever since, well, probably during the Civil War. It was probably in place before the Civil War, actually.
Yeah,
But,
way
huh?
before.
Yeah.
At least 1,000 years.
Well, no, no, no. I'm talking about once we got here. That's when
Ah,
they went,
yeah.
oh, yeah, we got to do something, keep control over that new landmass.
Mm. Yeah, I would say ever since Europeans step foot over here, there's been some sort of plot. Somebody checking out the land and trying to accommodate for the future and how they
Uh,
can wiggle their way in.
yeah, and that's what they do. These schemers from way back. I mean, not just schemers. You can almost think about them as organized grifters. Now, I mean, quite literally, if they can't have it their way, they'll destroy it. And they, in fact, use violence so much that I look back in history, and yeah, I'm not the greatest in history and everything, but the stuff that I've learned from people like Common Sense and others just points it out directly that we would be a much peaceful world without these people actively tearing it apart.
And the one common thing that they seems to be their motivator is, at least on a very basic level, is one monetary and two power.
Yeah, it's really quite simple. Dang, getting into with bots tonight.
Must not like the conversation.
Yeah, it's rug bots, so they must be from the Democrat. I lost my place. Sorry.
So good. The rest of the history gets pretty more known, moving forward.
Well, um, I guess the overall point here is that uh, they've been working this long game for a long time, and they've purposely gotten into our system to point us in a direction to make us all look one way, or not just one way, to look every way but which way we're supposed to be. And what we're supposed to be is uh, self-governing. Well, from the from the moment that they walked out of Congress and basically left the meeting unclosed and left the military in charge, they have been going over and over, or they have been saying over and over the wrong things and have placed themselves between us and the truth, or themselves between us and the truth. Yeah, I said that right. And it's worked. So here we are right now trying to get other people to learn their rights, to learn their history, to learn, period. Keep those critical thinking muscles flexed. And like I said, yeah, I know I've said it many times that I was a bad student through high school and stuff like that, so I don't know my history very well, but I'm taking uh, pride in learning it. It's never too late. All right, so it's the railroads are going across. We're getting more territory. The Kansas, Nebraska negates the Louisiana Purchase. Um, so, in your opinion, where does that leave Missouri as far as statehood?
Well, hmm.
Sorry, did I stump you? Or are
Well,
you just
it's
trying to figure out what should be said and what should not be said?
both. Uh, I mean, I would say statehood is somewhat clear that it's there under what terms and conditions is very interesting to
It's a
keep in
factor.
consideration. Uh, yeah, just how valid the additional clauses were that were forced on the state constitution. I'm just going to go with the answer is it's there, but it seems unclear. I don't know how to word it.
Probably done, vague on purpose.
Yeah, you want robots, so
Oh, I said, so do you think it was made vague on purpose? Or
yeah,
was it
and
laziness?
and I think it was vague. Well, it becomes vague because somebody did a great job of uh, bearing the history. Um,
Well, it's a good thing we archived a whole bunch of documents and stuff like that online so that it's easy to lose them all.
well, yeah, that'll be just something I've been pondering. Always have a hard copy of stuff.
Absolutely. There's a lesson to be learned right there. Even a small CME, coronal mass ejection from the sun, can fry different. Just so happens that we haven't been hit too hard yet.
Yeah, it would definitely seem, especially in the case of Missouri, that history repeats itself. Uh, and around the world, history repeats itself.
Hmm.
So when a lot more things become discovered and discussed, it seems very likely that they may try to erase or cover up the things that have been discovered again or
Well,
examined.
well, as far as I'm concerned, they're actively doing that anyway.
Yeah, they're uh, they're definitely on the path. Yeah. The history books are either going to say something great about the people of America and what they've done in a time of crisis, or the history is going to say things about the Wuhan wiggle. You get my meaning?
That's the freaking flu, the Frankenstein flu.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um, is there any more that you wanted to go into? Because quite frankly, my back just is acting up. Yeah, I real I didn't tell anybody. I was trying to push a vehicle the other day and hurt my back. Actually, it was Thursday during the day, and yeah, I've been doing okay, but sitting here in this chair is making it freak out a little bit. So, um, if you want to go ahead and cover some more stuff, um, then I wouldn't mind going ahead and keeping on. But otherwise, I'm thinking about going ahead and shutting it down and getting myself more horizontal.
uh, I don't know. I don't think anybody would have any questions. It's a very localized topic, but if anybody does,
Yeah, good
I don't
point.
care. Don't care to ask them, or don't care to answer, or try to.
Yeah, if you
But
guys got any questions in chat, go ahead, type them in there, and we'll do our best. As usual. Um, let's see. So in order to self, what do we do? Do we have to start from scratch, rewrite our Constitution for Missouri, or do we just take it back to a certain day and start from there? What do you think?
I would say first and foremost, uh, that mindset needs to become more broad uh, as a
Common sense.
yeah, obvious, yeah. Um, the principles need to be there, because if the principles aren't there and they're not firm, then what's the point? Kind of comes back to that first discussion of what the Constitution says about Congress admitting new states into the Union. How does that? How do more states come about? You know, what did those other uh, states or territories um, have to do to get to a place where they could ask to become part of the Union? The principles need to be there. The mindset of what the people want, what they desire, what they see fit and proper. Um, that has to be there.
Hmm.
And that's got to be the way for it to be in the future, because if those morals and principles are distorted, even in the smallest way, throws the whole thing off.
So a good moral foundation and
Mm-hmm.
moral character, or no, I was going to say something else, but I'm being distracted. I'm back. Um, so essentially, a good foundation in uh, parameters to win, discipline, and basically working towards a common good is what the foundation should. Am I missing something?
Yeah, the desire and uh, you know, yeah, the desire has to be there first, and the morals and the principles of, of setting everything in motion from there, you know, have to be straight and narrow. And the rest will work itself out. And that's everywhere, you know.
John said strategy is wise. The Louisiana Purchase split Spain and go off from Florida. Not a bad move.
Yeah. The western coast of Florida was actually part of that. Um, a lot of the maps I've looked at go down the whole peninsula of Florida, included in the purchase. Now I'm sitting here studying your map.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the
I mean,
whole
if
whole
the
things that
waterways were in there, it'd be better. But yeah, go ahead.
one of the whole things that kind of set me down the rabbit hole looking into all of this is the definition of a territory.
Okay.
And in the definition of territory is the dominion over the territory. And then I looked into the word dominion. Scary word.
Do tell.
Hmm. Well, basically by labeling something a territory and the inhabitants of that, for lack of a better word, territory, um, are subject to someone or something other than themselves.
Hmm.
And that land belongs to someone or something else. And then territory is defined usually as areas or districts of land. I believe it's been a while since I looked at it. Subject to a prince or king in the rule
What, like a
or
regent?
the dominion of what?
Like a regent?
Mm, possibly. I don't
Okay.
have the definition verbatim.
Gotcha.
But yes, it is always about land transfer. All right, that made me think of something else. there was a transfer ceremony, actually, a 2-day long transfer ceremony that happened in the port of New Orleans and the port of St. Louis. Um, and let's see, France, Spain, and the United States were there at both places. And the first day of the ceremony, um, Spain raised their flag and flew it till the sun went down. They lowered the flag. The next day, Spain raised their flag. And a couple hours before the sun went down, they lowered their flag and America raised its flag. And another party sat and watched the whole thing.
What other party?
And,
What, like a witness?
hmm, yeah, you have to be a human, living, breathing soul to witness something. Oh, did I say that? But anyways, the Pope. Yeah, the Pope was there.
Ah.
Yeah, that guy.
So he oversaw the ceremony?
Hmm. Yeah. Apparently.
Hmm. So the US and Rome proxies?
What's that?
That's what Sean said. Sean said, so the US and Rome proxies?
Hmm. Well, for quite some time, St. Louis was known as Western Rome. It's a scary thought.
It is very scary.
Yeah. Then you take a quick glance at what Kansas City, its nickname being the City of Fountains,
Hmm.
and has the most fountains in any city, second to the Vatican. Yeah. No thanks.
Yeah, this is just a big old tangled web, and we have to unravel it, take it back to its base, and rebuild it. Do it right. So that means every state being independent, but working together with other states as a whole. Simple, right? Right.
Yeah. When you use that little wordage, yeah, simple.
Sorry, did I dumb it down too much?
Nah, that was just right.
Well,
But
that's basically the of it right there. We either do this right or we don't do it at all. And if we don't do it at all, that means we go down a path that, quite frankly, there's going to be very difficult to come back from. Yeah.
one of the reasons I
Well,
like talking about this so much is because I want to encourage others to look around. What's odd? What doesn't seem right?
you know, I
And
could touch on my
eventually,
Monday nights.
well,
Go ahead.
just eventually poking around in history, you'll find something, and probably gonna make your blood boil.
Yeah. Kind of gotten numb towards it just so I can look at it evenly. But it still pisses me off. And that's why I'm doing something about it. Now, in doing something about it, it's something that we all should be doing and should have automatically been doing. And that is, well, assembling, self governing, standing up for yourself with others. It's really just that. I was going to say something else, but I blanked.
Well, there's that, and you know, getting ourselves out of the hole that somebody else has been digging for us for quite some
Yeah, it's
time.
called a grave.
Huh. Yeah. But we've been letting somebody else run the show for quite some time. So we have to do a little bit of work and figuring out the damage they've done.
That's the real thing. That damage that's been done. There's been so much throughout the history of this country that has just beaten the crap out of us. Now, I also acknowledge that other countries around the world have gone through the exact same thing. It's just that they were pretty much conquered by, well, getting their ass kicked. They couldn't devote that much attention to us. And they, I mean, the Vatican, England, the Crown, whatever. They couldn't devote that much attention to us at the time, so they withdrew and came at us from a different angle. The angle was basically, well, them sending in the clowns. I mean, lawyers, and legalizing everything instead of lawfulizing everything, if that's a word. Keeping it lawful. There we go. Instead of keeping it lawful, they legalized everything. And we are not of the legal or of the lawful. And it's just that simple. Knowing about what has happened will inform us on how to move forward. Now, you have to understand how much that kind of pains me, because that means I have a lot of reading to do. I have a lot of comprehension to exercise. and try and do a whole bunch of catch-up work on history. And well, I've never been shy about saying that I was a bad student. So believe me, you're not alone if that sounds like a daunting task, because yes, to me it's absolutely daunting, but it has to be done. Because quite frankly, I've got to a new point in my life where I want to know everything. And so this is just part of everything.
I'm
It's just
looking
a
at the
waffle falafel.
looking at the chat here. There's a school banned from kids wearing Crocs, and you know what? That's awesome. Crocs are a danger to us all.
Are they now? Do tell.
Yeah, you get a pair of socks and some Crocs. It's dangerous.
Nah, stick with my combat boots.
But I like that Crocs are being dressed. So if that's a
Well, a
true
grievance is a
statement,
grievance.
if there's actually a school board out there who has the time to ban Crocs, that means they're not doing stupid stuff with muzzles. So unless Crocs is code, we'll see. But Nike is okay. No, not justifying anything.
Yeah, well, she's trying to get the Crocs unbanned.
Oh,
But like I said, a grievance is a grievance. I mean, you spend money on your footwear or your kids' footwear, they should be able to wear them. You got to send in the fashion police.
Crocs are not footwear.
They're not?
No,
What are Crocs then?
garbage.
Well, Mr. Opinion.
Sorry.
I mean, hell, as far as I know, they're just shoes. I can't even pull up a picture in my head what they are. So I have no opinion one way or another.
So Crocs and stuff were banned, but the Heelys are still good.
Yeah, those are dangerous. You lean the wrong way and you're toast.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm gonna go ahead and close her down because, quite frankly, this is sending pain into my upper back. So I want to thank you, Hayden, for coming up here. Common sense. We all need more of that. I want to thank everybody in chat for participating in tonight's discussion. I hope if not for the specific Missouri aspect of it, maybe you can apply some things that we talked about as far as our state to your state, and find out how everything started there. I mean, there's a chance that you're not actually a part of the union, at least legitly. Um, Information is king. I hate using that part, but it really is. I mean, the more you know, the better off everyone else is. Would you like to throw out any closing statements?
yeah. Trying to put something clever together, but I'm not very clever. So
Roll the dice.
history always tells a story. Figure out what that story is. connect the dots, and maybe we can all set the record straight. But everything else is going to hell in a handbasket, so either sit in panic or try to focus your energy on something productive. And with that, good night.
All right. Wise words. Once again, I'd like thank you all for coming in and hanging out with us tonight and participating in chat. I really appreciate it. I wish my back wasn't killing me. I'd go longer, but yeah, I gotta, yeah. So I want to thank you all again. Thank you. I'm okay. I'm repeating myself. Time to go. All right. Good night, everybody. I yield. Good night and sweet dreams.